Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. Welcome to my review for the Power Rangers Lightning Collection Zeo Cogs. If you don't know, these are the 6th and 7th Rangers of the series. No, I'm just kidding. These are the henchmen of the series. They come in a 2-pack in which you get both varieties that they come in, which is kind of the silvery look and this like red sand, like volcanic rock color to it. And in the background, you can see, obviously, I have the packaging. I just wanted to show that off at first. You know, as always, it has really cool art on it. It's a closed packaging, which is going to become important in a minute. Got real sparkly stuff in there. I don't know what that's about. I guess that's the way it looks on this show, but it just looks a little bit weird here for me. I don't know why. I don't even know why I'm talking about that. And then you see that on the back. But I just wanted to show off. I always appreciate the box art on these, and it's just going to be worth noting for a reason I'll get to in a second. So, accessories-wise, both of them come with these effect part, which kind of look partly like it's going to blast off of an Iron Man chest piece effect and you can put on them, but it's kind of meant to show the classic hitting with sparks attack, you know, when the Rangers slash them with their weapons and they get hit with sparks, or a laser blast, dealer's choice. They also both include this punching effect here for sort of an energetic punch. Both of them include a small retracted and a full-out version of their baton, which are nicely painted. You know, it's kind of hard to mess these up. It's basically 2 colors, but they mostly look nicely painted. I have no complaints about these. This wasn't really why I was getting the set. Then, as you can see, they have 2 different heads on them. So they each come with an alternate head, which is the opening up ones that they use for an attack, which is really cool and really nice that you can do that. Now, I swapped it off on my silver one because if you can see here, this one has some QC issues, which maybe it's not that noticeable to you. I immediately noticed it because it looks kind of like battle damage on it, which is rather annoying. And that's why I brought in the packaging, not just to show it off, but to show you that unfortunately with these, you know we get Lightning Collection QC issues. And unfortunately with the closed package ones, you can't pick out one that's not messed up. And also with this one, I believe is an online exclusive, so you're kind of, you know, doubly messed up there. So you can't look at it in store, and even if you could look at it in store, you can't see if there's a paint mistake on there. So that's really unfortunate with the QC issues, and that definitely sucks. So that's why I switched out the head on this one. Real quick, I almost forgot to mention they both include closed fists as well as sort of an open combat fist in addition to the ones they have on them for holding their weapons. But now let's talk about the figures themselves. I mean, overall, both head sculpts, setting aside the QC issues, I think look really nice. They look accurate to me. The gold looks really nice and vibrant. I really like that. And as for the details themselves, these guys are really simple, so it's pretty hard to mess them up. If I only had like 1 complaint or 1.5 complaints is there's a little bit color discrepancies on these, and I looked up a couple pictures of Cogs from footage from Zeo and from O-Ranger, and I don't really remember them having that many discrepancies. Like, it's kind of that thing where it just looks, I think they're trying to achieve the sparkling feel to it, which is kind of nice, but it makes it look like it's an uneven gray, which, you know, on the show they're kind of all one palette. I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't bother me that much. Like, I'm not that invested in these figures. I'm happy with them for what they are, but it's definitely something I noticed, something I've noticed in other figures with color discrepancies. Also, by nature of the design, because there's not a lot going on, you can definitely notice all the hinges and joints and stuff much more than you would on a Ranger. There's some that are more noticeable than others, but with this, because it's so plain, there's nothing to distract you from it. So that may bother some people. Again, it's not a huge deal to me, but it is something I noticed. You do have the par for the course articulation here with the ball joint, and you got this hinge right here. Elbow joint here, which you actually have a nice little cog thing there. I don't know, it looks like a little cog. I don't know if that was intentional or if it's just a coincidence, but it looks like a little cog joint, which is really nice. Then you have a little swiveling joint right here, and then you have the ball joint here on the leg, and you have a double knee joint. And something I wanted to note, specifically with this one, both of these I have really tight joints on them, like no loose problems whatsoever, but for whatever reason, this one was really sticky when I got it out. Like this one, I was almost worried about breaking it to sort of break the seal, as it were, for the leg articulation. So I don't know if you're going to experience that, but for this one, was like locked up. But you still have the knee articulation there, and the swiveling, and you have the hinge joint here on the foot here, which is also pretty tight, like a toiga. And then you have the nice like hinge joint and ball joint here, which is really nice. And this kind of hides it here so you don't just have an awkward T, which is nice. Not like tea like the beverage, but like the letter T. And before we get on to our other red-sanded fellow, I don't know why he's getting ready to hug me, but I wanted to compare him here to the other release. This is the original release from the old Zeo line, and this guy is obviously the winner because he can do this. I mean, can you do that? Nope, loser. No, but there's the difference there. You can see obviously this is way better articulated and overall more detailed. You know, doesn't have that action feature, but this actually isn't too bad. Like, I'm not saying, oh, this is a worthy substitute, but, you know, for what this is, you know, just a henchman on the shelf, it's honestly not that bad. And oddly enough, this one has battle damage for owning it for so many years that it didn't come from a paint mistake. But it was one of the times I actually had the villain figure ready, and I thought it was worth noting. This guy can basically only move his legs and has this little gimmick here, but, you know, I thought I'd show that off. But now let's talk about the red version. So here's our red version here. He looks like he's wearing some sort of Martian outfit. I'm gonna be honest, I was never a fan of this color of the Cogs. I don't know why, it just looked really boring and strange to me. But the nice thing about him, though, is his color's more consistent. Like, yeah, these guys are supposed to have the sparkliness on them, which I think they're trying to achieve. But for me, you have this sort of light gray here and then the shiny silver, you have all these discrepancies. But at least he's like all one color. You know, you can still see all the hinges and stuff, but he seems much more uniform to me, which is overall very nice, and I really appreciate that. But it's kind of hard to mess these up. I mean, really, all you have to do is give him helmets and boots, and he's off to work. And it's same articulation for this one. Again, both of them had very solid, tight joints. I didn't have that weird lock problem with this one. It was only this one. But I mentioned it just in case. I mean, you could get one with a loose joint. You could get a normal one. You could get one like me. But they were very, very tight. Like, I had to almost break the seal on it. It was really weird. But overall, I'd still say it's a solid figure. You know, I'm happy with it. It's like, oddly enough, I was looking forward to this one the least, but I'm a little bit more happy with this one because his head wasn't messed up, although I could swap out the heads if I wanted. And the color looks a little bit more uniform on this. Not that this is a huge deal to me. Okay, so for the final verdict, guys, I would say buy this one because final verdict on this is hard for me because I'm personally not that invested in these. I don't care as much about the villains and henchmen, and you know, these Cogs are perfectly fine for me. I have my problems with them, as I've mentioned, but I like them just fine, and I have no problem recommending them to someone that's not going to be overly critical, because I still think they look pretty solid. They just have their problems. Really, when it gets down to it, my only issues are the color discrepancies on this. I wish it was a little bit more uniform, and the paint mistakes. But that might not be something you experience. You might get a perfect set. That's just something that has to be fixed all around, and unfortunately, with a release like this, you're not going to be able to inspect it like you can in store, so just keep that in mind. But I'll say, these are still decent figures, not my favorite, but I think if you're a huge fan of Cogs and you're not going to throw a fit over small details, you'll probably be happy with them. But if for this one though, guys, until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notification for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.